this is where it all began. This is when we talk about Carolina Hurricanes culture and the success, getting to the playoffs, being successful in the playoffs. This is where it all began. Justin Williams is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. Because this is really the start of it, isn't it? When you think back to the first, playoff appearance in a decade in the spring of 2019, you go into a series on the road at Washington, albeit not as the favorite like this year. What do you remember about that, the run into the playoffs, and then the approach to that series?
Having a great second half of that season to get into the playoffs and to finally kind of get over the hump of mediocrity that this team was mired in for so long, and getting into that playoffs and having nothing to lose. Playing against Washington, who were the defending Cup champions. It was certainly the underdog scenario. We grasped that, we enjoyed it. But we were playing on such a high from the past few months and really trending in the right direction for a long time. And I just remember coming into that series having a lot of familiar faces on that other side, which I played for Washington a couple of years before, and just really telling myself to enjoy it.
Justin Williams is joining us here. I'm going to continue the conversation about the series, but there was a moment during that hot streak. It was like 31, 12, and 7 in the last, 3.5, 4 months of the season that got you in the playoffs. But I remember a game specifically that I believed was a turning point in the team going from, we're good, to holding yourselves to a higher standard. It was a home game against Tampa Bay, and I think it was like a 3-1 or maybe a 4-1 lead in the third period, and you got power played by the Lightning, and they ended up winning the game. And I remember after the game, in years past, it would have been, we proved that we could play with them. And I remember you specifically, being visibly angry that we gave them too much respect. I felt like that was a turning point. I keep talking to other people about it. I don't know that I've ever asked you about it. Do you remember that game at all?
Yeah, I mean, you certainly did some research on this one, because you really jogged my memory just in that kind of introduction to your question there. And I remember that game certainly like it was yesterday. And we lost that game, and it was one of my few times I've lost it after a game. I went in there and was visibly upset and challenged the team, and I said, okay is not okay. And I do remember that. Whether or not that was a turning point or not, I'm not sure, but we had to get off of the average train and be, confident to compete with these guys. And the way we lost that game was just a very upsetting time for me. And, I wanted to let it known that the players that I'm not okay with it, and they shouldn't be either.
Justin Williams is joining us. All right, now to the series, because I remember that so vividly. I remember standing there listening to you going, this is different. We're not accepting just being good. We have a chance to be a lot more than that. Now we get to that series against Washington, and they win Game 1 relatively handily. Game 2's an overtime game. When you get home for Game 3 and you hear that crowd at now Lenovo, obviously that means a lot. But when did you guys believe in that series that these guys are there for us to take?
Well, I mean, you use all the adages and sayings and things that you can, and a series isn't over until you lose a home game, and we had a really good home record, and we obviously are very confident that we could beat anybody playing at the PNC at the time, but at the Lenovo Center now. And there was just a belief if we were going to go away, we weren't going to go away quietly. And I think that's one of the best things is for, a younger team trying to make the next step is like, we might lose, but we aren't going to lose quietly. We are going to go down kicking and screaming like a little kid at Toys R Us that doesn't get his toy. And we will do everything that we can to make sure that we challenge these guys. And we did that. We worked hard. We didn't say quit even after going down 2-0. And we just won one game at a time and continued to go.
By the way, I'm not even sure Toys R Us even exists anymore. You're not an old man, but you have an old soul. Justin Williams is joining us here. All right, let's get to game number 7, because I want to fast forward this to that point. You start 0-2 in the hole. Sebastian Aho gets on the board with a shorthanded goal off a rebound, and then Washington counters right away just about and makes it 3-1 again. The Teuvo Teravainen goal that made it 3-2. What does that do? It didn't come immediately after Washington's goal, but what does that do late in the period that takes you into the third period still with a chance?
Well, a one goal lead is just certainly mentally a lot different than a 2-goal lead, albeit it really doesn't mean anything in this year's playoffs if you've been following it, but it just gives you a certain little confidence, a little swagger, and what it does is it instills a little bit of doubt in the other team, and that's what you want to try and feed off of. And hey, I've been on the other side where you got the lead and you just want to cruise it into the home stretch here and finish it off, but this team is coming relentlessly at you over and over and over again, and it's just a mentality, and we instilled a little bit of doubt, I think, with that goal that Teuvo scored.
And what was the third period like? And you could even extend that into overtime, but what was the third period like?
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I remember Jordan Staal scoring a Eric Staal-ish goal from that spot, and then it was real. It was a kind of a next goal wins type of game, and we just wanted to keep pressing. And as I said, we might have lost. We certainly could have lost, but we found a way, and we found a way to kind of make that next step, and it was a big part in our as you said, culture shift in Carolina.
All right. One more thing about the series, and then I want to ask you about some current players who were there. 5 players for each team are still on their respective teams, and 1 player for each team changed teams. It's a wild kind of coincidence here. But describe for me, from your perspective, the game-winning goal.
I remember the game-winning goal. We had an offensive zone face-off. Sebastian Aho was hurt at the time. I think it was a wrist or an arm or something, so he wasn't really taking face-offs. So I tried to go forward off a face-off, lost it cleanly, as I usually do on face-offs. And we just went back over to Jacob Slavin, who threw it at the net. And as you can tell, I mean, listen, you see guys going to the net, you want to throw it there. And it's become a lot of these game-winning goals seem to be almost pinball-ish, off a stick, off a shin pad. And that's all I was trying to do there. I saw Brock going to the net. I went to the corner, threw it to him, and he unbelievably knocked it out of the air and came back celebrating. And it was a pretty special moment for a lot of guys on that team, and certainly ones that I'm never going to forget.
What was the handshake line for you?
Yeah, it was an exhausting series, so I think it was just kind of a relief, really. And, these guys, I was so proud of Washington the year before. A lot of my teammates won their first Stanley Cup, and I was really proud of them. But I was even almost more proud of our team for dispatching them in the next year. And a lot of handshakes, just a lot of congratulatory stuff, and job well done. And that's what a battle is. At the end of it, you you can put things aside, whatever was said. If you took a bad hit, whatever it is, it's all in the name of a game of hockey, and that's why it's the best sport.
It was just a quick aside. The handshake line at the end of the Devils series, you could see the outpouring of love for Brett Pesce.
Yes, I mean he's still a close friend to a lot of guys, and you throughout your years, you're going to remember players, and Brett, I still keep in touch with him even though I haven't played for over 4 years, and he's just a great guy, and one that we would have loved to have kept, but just a super individual, and I think that really resonated with how you saw the handshake line and a bunch of hugs and congratulatory stuff, because he was a big part of this team for a really long time.
Yeah, I think parts of him are still here. All right, finally, Martinook, Stahl, Aho, Slavin. I know Martin. I think I might have said Martinook. There are a bunch of guys who are still here that played in that game, and to me, those guys, Martinook, Aho, Stahl, these are the culture of this team. What is it about those guys that embodies the spirit of being a Hurricane?
Well, it encapsulates everything. I mean, they're what Hurricanes are, and I know Roddy says it ad nauseum, right? They compete, they care, and they work. I mean, that's what a Hurricane is, and they really embody the spirit of that, and they show up every day and do the same thing, and because of that, we've been successful. Obviously, Roddy at the top and management at the top have given us a template for success, but these guys are the ones that are carrying it out on a day-to-day basis and through 82 games and playoffs and pushing themselves and pushing their teammates to get better. And they're great leaders, and it's no fluke that this team has made the playoffs for so long, and those guys are a huge reason why.
Why don't fans recognize how hard it is to do what this team has done now 7 years in a row?
Well, certainly. I think fans do recognize it for sure. But, the more you get, the more you want, right?
Right.
I think that's just human nature. And we want more. Everybody wants more. And we keep giving ourselves opportunities, and we have another one in front of us.
The easiest decision Rod Brind'amour ever made as the head coach, he told me, was naming you the captain, his first captain. Justin Williams, I thank you very much for your time, sir. I will talk to you soon.
Goldie, you bet. Enjoy the series.